Hi, my name is Joe Lemenager, and I am a part of the Focus City team, the leadership team.
Hi, my name is Hannah Weinheimer. I've been on the field here in Germany for about a year and a half now, and I work with member care.
Hi, I'm Doug Mitz, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to witness to what God is doing.
My name is Lisa Mitz, and Doug and I have a passion to see a discipleship multiplication movement here in Frankfurt.
Hi, my name is Deborah Capella, and I'm part of the prayer initiative here in Frankfurt.
My name is Jan Gabe. I was born in Frankfurt, I grew up in Frankfurt, and I will be a missionary with GEM in Frankfurt.
What brought me to Frankfurt was a church plant called Mosaik-Kirche Nordwest. We went to school with a guy named Marcus Engel. We went to Bible college together, and he ended up moving back to Germany. He's a German, and years later we found out about GEM, and we got in contact with Marcus. We knew we wanted to come to Germany, but we didn't know where, and he was like, come to Frankfurt, join our church plant in the northwest part of Frankfurt, and be a part of what God is doing here in this little neighborhood.
I'd heard about the need in Europe, and I decided to come to Germany because I grew up speaking German. I myself kind of grew up as a cross-cultural kid with an American dad and a German mom. And so it really drew me to this place that my mom came from, thinking about that there was so much need for the gospel here, so much need for people to know God in a country that had become really post-Christian. And so that's how I ended up in Frankfurt in the first place. And then God just immediately, when I got here, drew me to these kids who are growing up between cultures like I experienced.
We had two options, to go to Athens or to Frankfurt. And as we prayed and listened to God in that, we heard not only the invitation by Greater Mission to move to Frankfurt, but we also heard God's invitation. And so we chose Frankfurt. And since landing here in 2019, we've simply seen confirmation.
We just really believe God's up to something in Europe, and we just see very much so that we would love to see people following. Matthew 4:17, come follow me.
When I came to faith, I got on the track of wanting to be a missionary because I didn't see anything else to actually have a point. I guess I'm a little black and white. And I also didn't have the urge to go anywhere, and things were developing here and there was much progress, so I see it as a sign that I should be here.
I think what has challenged me the last year has been to not just work for God and do work for Him as a missionary, or think that I'm living out the missionary call by coming here and doing administrative work, or doing being a supervisor on the Frankfurt Focus City team, but really personally living out the Great Commission, which is to make disciples. And I want to see other people on our team and in Frankfurt also make disciples, to share the love of Christ with the people here in Frankfurt that are lost and don't know Him.
Well, the challenge that I think we all have admitted to is we would love to see much more fruit. But we are so aware now of just how unbelievable it is with so many people we meet that just have never had anyone talk to them about God. And many of them have never heard the gospel.
Unity is an important thing, and I think there's lots of lack of unity, so I'm trying to network and trying to work toward unity so people who think differently move a little closer together.
How do we get to disciple multiplication from the harvest in the way we're doing it? I think it calls us to do this kind of work around our community basis, things we would call church, where people can enter around their own space, engaging with relationships convenient to them.
And the cool thing about it is that it's not just GEM at the center of everything, but it's us collaborating and joining in with local people here in Frankfurt to reach the city of Frankfurt. And that's really what is at the heart of what it means to be a missionary here in Frankfurt, is to reach the city by making disciples and joining alongside local churches and ministries here. And something that really excites me is coming alongside missionaries coming from all over the world, whether it's Europe or North America, and helping them just to gain this vision and make that vision a passion of theirs too, like it is ours.
We have partnered with churches to prayer walk in various church communities. We have partnered with the House of Prayer to pray for various things that are happening around the world, actually. And we also have a group of people involved with the Friday night outreach. And we are praying as we go out into the Innenstadt to see God transform people in the Innenstadt. And we're seeing that God is providing opportunities for conversation.
For the entire 4 days of the disciple multiplication training, I didn't know what to do. He was struggling with, what do I do next? And the deer in the headlights was about, nobody's ever taught me this stuff before, and our church doesn't do this stuff. And so I didn't know what happened. We put up a monthly meeting after that for that DMT, and he never showed up. He just kind of disappeared. And then we were doing the taco outreach in Frankfurt and happened to be in Offenbach. And I ran into a friend that I do outreach with regular, and he came up and he just hugged me. And I went, what are you hugging me for? And he said, I met Dan today, and he told me what he's doing. And he told me that he'd heard about these things at that DMT. So I got to witness God doing something. And what had happened, this guy that had the deer in the headlights had gone back to his church, and actually over the year that came after that DMT, he transformed it into a disciple-making church. And in Offenbach, as we were doing that outreach, Dan came up and I saw him, and he brought 4 disciple makers with him. And I have a picture of that moment.
There was one of the students that came regularly on campus, and he asked one of his colleagues, another student, he said, why don't you come out with us just to come and prayer walk and share our faith on campus? So she said, okay. And so she began to regularly come. And then we talked a little bit more that day. And I remember going back and I was like, Jackie, I'm not real sure she's a believer. And so Jackie kind of went out with her a couple of times as well. And she shared the same sentiment, but we just kind of waited and just continued. She went to one of the monthly meetings, and I remember her writing me saying, wow, that was really powerful what the Lord was saying to all of us last night. And so recently she asked Jackie and some others to get together on one of the weekends, and she wanted to make it official that she wanted to put her faith in Jesus and really become a follower and a disciple. And so that just blew us away. That little did we know all this time, she even went out on Friday nights with me, and little did we know that she was just soaking it all in and becoming more convinced herself.
It's come also too from the work that I've been doing here in Frankfurt. Been able to work closely with some kids who are about to move overseas, which has been really impactful to be able to support them and help them at each of their developmental stages and age groups to get ready for the big transition that's about to hit them, and just to be able to support a family in a way that's been really meaningful for them as well. So those are the things that I'm really passionate and excited about that are happening in GemK ministry, but also just in families who are in transition, and to be a part of God loving them and supporting them and holding them as they're going through that really challenging, exciting whirlwind of a time. So,
the way I see it, most Christians and most people I know are not doing a very hard job of trying to listen to God, and I think it makes a big difference if someone does. I can see that with someone I'm doing discipleship with at the moment. He's very open to input. He tells me lots of things that are going on inside of him, emotionally speaking, things that are going on in his family, things that he's observing around himself. And he's really trying to see what is godly in this moment. It's not, he's really trying to look to himself, and he's very open about his issues. And there is progress already. There is still room for growth, of course, but there's progress already that is coming from the inside, and it's not just behavior modification.
Something that really excites me this year, it's not happening yet, but it's in the works, is that my husband Joe and I are next year going to be church planting with Marcus Engel, who is the guy who originally invited us to come to Frankfurt. We are church planting with him next year in a Stadtteil, a neighborhood, sorry, a neighborhood called Riedberg. It's kind of on the outskirts of Frankfurt, but it is also another neighborhood, yet again in Frankfurt, that is unreached, does not have a missional community. And that's really where our hearts are at, is like, let's live missionally in local neighborhoods. Let's plant churches that are involved in what is going on in a neighborhood and reach a neighborhood that way. And so Joe and I, we've done that at Mosaikkirche Nordwest, and we're really excited to do that next year in Riedberg, another neighborhood in Frankfurt.
2 Thessalonians 3:1, pray for us that the word of the Lord will spread rapidly and be glorified. That's what we want to see happen here in Frankfurt. We want to see God's word spread rapidly.
So what keeps us here is God is at work. And he's at work among all the people of Frankfurt, his church, and those far from him relationally. And I don't know what COVID has done to this place, or even what's going on with the current situation with Ukraine, but people are open. The Spirit is moving. And there's an opportunity to make disciples that multiply in a way that is uncanny in Europe. And a lot of my work is with Germans, and I'm seeing traction there. And people have told me that Germans don't come to faith. And I'm like, oh, that's not my experience.
It's just been a neat thing to see these students really grow in understanding this interactive relationship they have with God. You know, and to see that being a disciple, and they're taking big, bold steps already and going out and sharing their faith and obedience. And they start seeing God show up, and they just get more and more excited. And it's neat to see some of them just say, hey, come on. They're asking other people to come and join us. And so that's just been a real joy for me to see people want to be a disciple, want to share their faith, find joy in sharing their faith, but most of all, they're really growing in that interactive relationship with the Lord and beginning to walk more and more in his presence and in his power.
The field is where I live, so I'm already doing what I will be doing when support is raised. Of course, not all of it. It's not like I have a perfectly 100% plan of what all to do, but there's many things I'm engaging in. There's things I want to do, and there's things I see that I know both want and are there for me. So I'm engaging as much as I can.
I see what God is doing in our city through all of the people that are suddenly, it seems like, coming together that have not come together before, with different organizations, different churches, and people who are suddenly becoming a lot more unified. And I really see, to me, it just seems like the work of the Spirit to see so many people with so many different backgrounds, so many different ideas about God, and what the purpose of being the church is, come together and become more and more unified in the goals that we want to reach, and the things that we want to see happen in the city, and moving towards discipleship. And it's so exciting to see, and I'm still figuring out what my part in that is too, as somebody who's also kind of torn between two worlds with member care and then with wanting to be involved locally in what God is doing here too. And so, yeah, it's just really exciting to see people coming together. I love that in general, and on such a big scale with churches and organizations. It's pretty amazing to see, and is really is only possible by the Spirit. So